Hello and welcome to the 14th installment in the Seattle interview series. Today, I have the great opportunity to speak with Cade Otton, 2020 All Pac-12 First Team, 2020 John Mackey Award semifinalist, 2020 Honorable Mention All-America, Phil Steele, I guess, 2018 Academic All Pac-12 Honorable Mention. Thank you for taking time out of your day. How are you doing today? How's things been? I know at least when I spoke with Race Porter, he said that you guys are kind of doing spring stuff. So, how have you been lately?
I've been great. It's been a semi-normal off season since the season ended. So we've been like doing our workouts, and now we're just getting ready to get into spring ball. So really excited for that, and yeah, things are going great.
Kind of getting ready for a somewhat normal season after compared to what happened last year.
Yeah, we're hoping so. Um, yeah, just last year was so bizarre, and so it's been a long time since things have been normal, obviously. So looking forward to hopefully having a normal schedule, which is what it looks like, and fans back in the stands.
Now I want to sort of get to, before we speak about the university, how has your family's football background really shaped you? Because I mean, if I go down the list, your grandfather, winningest coach in state high school history. Your father's the defensive coordinator for Tumwater, if I'm correct. Your uncle was a starting quarterback for USC in the 90s, and then your brother, obviously, with the offers he's getting and what he's doing. Uh, how has that really shaped your background, um, and just where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Tumwater, and there my grandpa's the head coach at the high school for he was there for 43 years. And my dad was a coach ever since I was born as well. So just like as soon as I was born, I was in the program basically. And so I was always around football. I loved football growing up. And as soon as I was able to be the water boy for the high school I started in kindergarten. And
Oh, geez.
yeah, and then did that and was a ball boy all the way up until eighth grade. And then I was a freshman and started playing for the high school, obviously. And so I've always played football, always loved football, and it's been a huge part of my family.
Now, to kind of go away from that, how good were you at basketball in high school? Was that something that you miss, or is that kind of like, hey, I spent time doing that and that's just in the past?
I loved playing basketball. I mean, I wasn't the greatest at all, but that I had a lot of fun playing basketball, and I think I think it contributed a lot to like my success at football is just like playing another sport. I love playing as many sports as possible, and so just like developing uh, just the versatility and athleticism, and like I said, I wasn't the greatest, but I had a ton of fun playing basketball, and it definitely have some great memories doing so.
Always, I don't know how much of it you watch, but whenever it seems like there's a tight end who has that sort of basketball background, it's always mentioned regardless. It's always like, oh, did you know he played basketball in high, whatever. It's like, yeah, it gets mentioned a lot. So what was the recruiting process like for you, as you're getting ready for college? And, was there any conflict in deciding where to go to college? How did that all boil down to leading to the University of Washington?
Yeah, I would say I wasn't like very heavily recruited, so um, I'd say like my biggest offers leading up to UW offering me was Oregon State and Nebraska. Those were probably like the biggest ones. And then UW offered right before my senior year. Football started, and I committed about a week later. So for me, it was really a no-brainer at that point.
Did, obviously being in the state have any effect? Is like you kind of knew about it and it was just kind of, like you said, it was kind of a no-brainer from there. Just, okay, I've got this and I'm just going to go through with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I worked pretty hard to get offered by UW. Like I went to all the camps and stuff, and I developed a really good relationship with the coaches even before I got offered. But yeah, I mean, I was a really big fan of the UW program growing up and in high school, and it was I was so excited when I got the offer. And like I said, I thought about it for about a week just to make sure I covered all my bases, but
Mm.
knew this is where I wanted to be.
So to speak on that and to get into UW, how is in general, how has college, the college experience been for you, to this point? How have things gone, whether it's obviously off the football field, because that's obviously not everything about college, and some people, their experience varies, but how has college been for you as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like the biggest period of growth for me in my whole life. And I mean, that's a hard on one hand, but it's also like just incredible and such a rewarding experience. And I mean, during this time, I've grown up a lot. I've gotten married in the past 3 months ago almost. And so, yeah, like I said, it hasn't been easy. Football, school, and life, but it's been um, one of the greatest times of my life for sure.
Now, I do want to touch on that just a little bit. How is married life been? Has that changed anything about life at all, or is it kind of stick the same a little bit?
It's awesome. It makes life. It's been incredible. I love being able to spend time with my wife and just getting to live together and do life together. It's definitely the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and I remember seeing the post. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. The pictures were pretty damn good too.
Thank you.
Um, I know that you mentioned, having a good relationship with the coaches. What was your first impression of Coach Peterson?
I think his reputation like went before him. Obviously, like the success he had at Boise and the success he was having at UW. But just like he's pretty famous, but when you meet him, just how down to earth he is and like how much he cares. It reminded me of my grandpa, honestly, and that's like the whole program did, and it was a big reason why I came here.
What impact would you say that he had on you off of the field? Because I remember when he said that he was going to step away, that was something that was talked about a decent amount by, what I saw from players was that he was so much more than just a football coach. What kind of impact did he have on you off of the field?
Yeah, I mean he pushed us to be better off the field um, and on the field, and so in that way, like he's no longer my football coach, but I still have a really great relationship with him, and he still does that, encourages me to like do well in school and pursue like all the resources we have here at UW, which is like incredible. The networking opportunities and the connections um, and yeah, so he instilled a lot of habits into me as a freshman and like going through the program that I carry with me today.
Do you have, from your time being around him, do you have a favorite Coach Peterson moment that you could recall?
Um, I think like it's hard to point out one, but I just think of like the sneaky funny moments he has. Like he can be like an opportunistic funny guy. And so like a lot of times he's the head coach, and it's like kind of I don't know, there's like a difference in like we respect the coach, and so there's like not as much joking around, but like when he
Mm.
joked around, it was always memorable.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Yeah. Um, what was your experience like in the Rose Bowl? How was that whole? I mean, because that's a whole thing. That is an entirely whole thing. Because obviously, I'm sure other bowl games have their ire, but the Rose Bowl's the Rose Bowl. So how was that whole thing for you? Because I know there's a whole week before it, and you're down in Pasadena and in California in general. How was your experience as a whole?
Yeah, that was an incredible experience and really surreal for me because my uncle played in the Rose Bowl, you know, and I always thought about that growing up and like how cool it would be to get there, and obviously you always watch it growing up, and just the whole thing felt like a dream, you know, and obviously the result was unfortunate. Um, like I think about how we should have won that game, um, but the experience was just incredible.
That's always going to be a game that I remember just because I got to go to that one.
Yeah.
And just being in that stadium, I mean, even before that with the parade and, it's just obviously, not the result, but at the end of the day, I'm still like, hey, I got to go to a Rose Bowl in some facet.
Yeah.
Um, but thing that we're still relatively young, both you and I, so I'm sure that that'll change. But um, what was your first impression of Coach Lake?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing you like. I knew about the success in the DB room before I even got to UW, and knew that he was kind of the mastermind behind that. And so when I got to the program, just seeing how he pushed the DBs, and I mean how it translated to on the field and to draft picks, and the respect that DBs had for him, it was really impressive to see. And then as he got announced the head coach, kind of started developing a relationship with him as he like started to reach out to other guys. And I mean, I had a good relationship with him before that, but just like more so when he became the head coach, and he's done an incredible job. It's been so awesome to have him as my coach. And I mean, especially considering the circumstances, I can't imagine anyone doing a better job. And he's been awesome for sure.
It's always I remember hearing about that. It was when Jimmy Lake was, you know, put in that position. I was like, it wasn't like, oh, boohoo, Coach Pearson's gone. I was like, okay, we got a guy who we got some confidence in, and it's really cool to just hear how much respect there is for him, around the program, and just obviously couldn't get a full sample size, of what happened last year, but just it was really cool to see that. And just overall, I don't want to, if there's ever anything like, oh, they don't want to play for this guy, I was like, oh shoot, but I have not seen that whatsoever. So it's really cool to see that. And then I know it's hard to pick, but is there a Coach Lake moment that is most memorable with you?
Um, I mean, think about just after the Utah game, just the excitement. Like I don't know. I think about like how hard he worked to get like everything put together so that we could have a season. And obviously, there's
Hmm.
so many people behind the scenes, but he just showed a lot of flexibility and like led us in being flexible as well. And like at halftime, obviously we weren't doing well, and he gave us confidence and instilled confidence in us to know that we could come back, and we did. And then just the happiness in the locker room, just he was just hugging everyone and loving us up, and sharing the excitement with us. It was awesome.
I do want to speak a little bit more on that season a little bit here in a sec, but you spoke about, you mentioned the DB room. What's the tight end room like? Because obviously, if you look down the list at former UW tight ends, I mean, guys like obviously Will Disley's in the league, and Daryl Daniels, Hunter Bryant from last year, and obviously there's still guys there. I know Jack Westover has O'Day Ty, which is pretty cool because I went to O'Day. What's the tight end room like for you, and how is, you look at those list of guys, what's it like to be a part of that, sort of tight end history, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it's super cool and such an honor. We always, since I've been here, we've always taken pride in knowing that we have to do the most out of anyone on the field, maybe barring the quarterbacks. Like we have to know the most, we have to execute the most, and that's a big point of pride for us. And so just the culture is just putting in the extra work to be able to do those things and do it at a high level. And then guys you named right there knew how to do that. And so it's an honor to be able to carry that on and lead in that as I'm a senior now, and the guys carry it on after me.
Now, I know you mentioned, taking pride in doing the most. How how much pride do you take in your blocking ability? Because I know that's something that some tight ends, they steer away from. But do you take pride in being able to block well?
Absolutely. I think that's where it starts, honestly. Like I felt like I had to block before I had the right to catch the ball, and I think that's like the mindset a lot of us have because that's what we're going to be asked to do most of the time. Like we want to run the ball really well,
Mhm.
but I mean, at the same amount, we want to make plays down the field. But it just like I think running the ball and like how we run block, it sets the tone more.
This is kind of not to get away from blocking. This is one that's a little less, I guess, of importance. Do you have any preference at all in, playing in Nike jerseys back then from playing in Adidas now? Is there any sort of preference to you, or is it just, hey, this is a jersey, I'm going to put it on and I'm going to go out there and play?
I think I like the look of the New Jerseys better, um, and I think they're like stretchier and fit better. But yeah, I like our New Jerseys a lot.
Did you how did you get excited to see the blackout at all, or is that some, again, is it just, hey, I'm putting a jersey on? Was that some that kind of, because I know some people it's like, hey, this is really, insert word, really cool, but how did you react to those jerseys?
Yeah, they're sweet, and I think the whole team loved them. And um, yeah, I mean those are cool jerseys and fun to play. And obviously we had a really good game that game, and yeah, it was fun.
So on a normal game day, we take 2020 out of the picture. What does a normal game day look like for you from start to finish?
Yeah, so we'll wake up at the hotel. Depending on when the game is, like we'll have some walkthroughs, some meals, and we'll get on the bus, head to the stadium, do the dog walk, um, say our prayer at midfield, and then go in. And then um, I I always dunk my head in the cold tub, uh, just right off of that, and then get taped, kind of roll out, stretch, and um, just kind of get locked in. And when they call us to warm up, and that's when it's go time.
Now, when you step on that field after, introductions and you're getting ready for the actual game, are you more of a, serious guy, locked in, or are you kind of loose and you kind of try to have fun out there?
I'd say I'm more serious. I try and get the right mindset. Um, I think it's okay to have fun, a little pregame, like enjoy the atmosphere. But personally, I like to be locked in and getting that mindset to get ready to go.
So in comparison, what did a 2020 game day look like for you, and how different was that compared to, everything that you spoke about a normal game day? What was different?
Just the atmosphere was a little different, missing the fans. But other than that, I mean, the coaches and the staff worked really hard to keep everything the same, and um, and so yeah, it didn't look much different. It was just like kind of adjusting to the environment.
What spurred your decision to return for this year? Because obviously, in reading that tweet, it goes, "I've declared," and I was like, "Oh shoot," you know. But what really said, "Hey, I want to be back for this year"? What factored into that?
There were a lot of things. I think the biggest thing was that I just wanted to win more. I felt like we had a lot to prove, and I didn't really get a chance to do it last year. Um, And so I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to come back and play more with my guys. But also just like the timing of getting married and wanting to improve a lot of things about my play, and yeah, there are a lot of things that pointed me back here, but I'm super excited.
It's always really cool. Obviously, at the end of the day, I'm going to support anybody's decision to go out and, make that next step. But it's always, cool to have somebody back. I know that Ryan Bowman's back, if I remember correctly, and Jackson Kirkland and some other guys. But it's, like you said, I think there is some business that needs to be taken care of just because of the way that things shook out, and obviously that's nobody's fault, but I don't know. I'm excited. I want to speak on a few guys because you've had at the quarterback position, you've played with Jake and Jacob and Dylan. What are the if how are their approaches to the game different at all? From a quarterback standpoint, because I'm sure that that bond between a quarterback and a tight end's got to be pretty good. So what is the difference between those three guys and your tenure here?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I've had those guys in my quarterback at just like different stages in my career. I think about Jake Browning is just a great leader. He knew everything about the offense inside and out, and he knew where everyone needed to be. And I mean, he's the winningest quarterback in the Pac-12 history, and so I mean, he was just the guy, when I got here as a freshman and my first 2 years here, he was just the guy. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, that makes
And
sense.
Eason, yeah, and then Eason, he is just so talented. Like it was just the way like the ball came out of his hands. Sometimes it was just like you just had to stop and watch. Um, but he is awesome. He is always like calm, cool, and collected. And that's what I think about him. I think just like a live arm and just like calm. And then Dylan, I mean, just so impressed with him as a freshman, and obviously with the weird season, he came in and did an awesome job. He just executed the offense really well and worked through his progressions, made a lot of good throws, and I think he learned a lot too. Like I said, his first time playing college football, and he got a lot of really good experience, and I'm excited to see how he progresses in the spring and beyond.
It was interesting that you mentioned about Jake knowing where everything, how everything moves in the inside out of the offense. Because when I spoke with Miles Gaskin, he mentioned I think it was that first game that they played against Boise in Boise on the Smurf turf, and
Mm-hmm.
he was asking Jake. He was like, "Where am I supposed to be?" And Jake just knew everything about it. And it was interesting to hear about that, and to hear that from you as well. Just really cool to hear how well that understanding of the offense is. Um, I'm sure this won't be an easy one to pick. So, I mean, if you want to throw a couple out there, go right ahead. But is there a favorite moment or game in your time here at UW?
My mind always goes back to the snowy game at Wazoo. Um, that was I always wanted to play in the snow growing up, and that was just the coolest thing ever. And to go in their place when they were highly ranked and take it to them, that was incredible. Something I'll never forget.
Now, that's good that you mentioned that because I wanted to ask, what is playing in the Apple Cup like for you, and does that rivalry have any sort of extra meaning? Obviously, I know you're from in state, so I'm sure you had some knowledge about it. But what does that rivalry mean to you, or is it just another game?
No, it's definitely something special. Like you said, being from in-state, I mean, I watched every Apple Cup growing up, and you feel the tension. Like you see the scrappiness on the field when you're watching growing up, and and to be a part of it, like to feel that, and I mean, take care of business since the last 7, 8 years. It's been it's been super fun. I mean, I love that.
So I guess in that snow game as well as the other Apple Cups that you've played in, have you known anybody on the sideline, like in the stadium, that you can see when you're playing in that game? And it's because when I spoke with Miles too, he said, people were talking about to him the whole game that he knew that were Cougs, throughout the week, that, kind of, letting him have it. Because obviously Apple Cup week comes around and that's the thing. I've had some guys that I've known go through there and are there right now. It's always, regardless of how good they are that year, how good we are, there's always talk on Apple Cup week.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody that's involved with that rivalry as well, that you know of?
Not, I haven't heard anything like during Apple Cup week. Honestly, I think there's a lot of nerves during that time, but I mean, I guess like other times in the year, like if I see someone who's a Coug and they'll mention something, but I mean, what are they going to talk about?
It's always fun to get into,
Yeah,
Um, I mean, at the end of the day, I think a big thing about sports is rivalries are important to it, because it adds such an element to it. So, at the end of the day, I figure it's healthy.
yeah, absolutely. It's a ton of fun, and like I said, all the guys love being a part of it, and getting to play in the Apple Cup is awesome.
Now, would you say that they're your favorite Pac-12 team to play, or someone else take that distinction?
Yeah, I mean, they're up there. Honestly, it feels like in the Pac-12, like every week's a rivalry week. We've played a bunch of the teams multiple times, and um, I mean, I think the Apple Cup's different, but um, I mean, love to play like Oregon, love to play Stanford, love to play Oregon State, love to play Cal. I mean, I could just list off all the teams. So I think every week we play in Pac-12, it presents something uh, difficult and tense. Like there's a lot of competitive teams in the Pac-12, and every week it's a dogfight to win.
It's really interesting that you mentioned Oregon because obviously that was supposed to be a sort of, well, pretty big game last year, but obviously because of the way things shook out, it didn't end up happening. Is there any game, maybe Oregon next season that anybody is particularly looking at and, sort of circling? Because obviously you go on the road and then second game and play Michigan, uh, and then Oregon's after Arizona and Stanford on the road. Is there any sort of game that you're kind of looking at, or is it just kind of, hey, this is a season and I've got to prepare for the season as a whole?
Yeah. I mean, when the schedule came out, like you kind of look, you see where we're playing away, who we got home, But I mean, we don't we don't ever want to focus too much on a single game. Obviously, like we look forward to having a big time non-conference game on the road. Um, but I mean, when it gets down to it, we're just going to be preparing for Montana for that first game. Um, but yeah, obviously there's a lot of cool opportunities to go on the road. There's going to be a lot of great home games, and yeah.
Certainly looking forward to being back in the student section after having
Yeah,
to watch everything from home.
totally.
Um, no, that definitely makes sense. You don't want to ever hear that somebody was, the team was looking too far ahead. So that definitely makes sense. Um, I want to eliminate for this question. I was going to ask you, do you have a away stadium that you've most enjoyed being at? But I want to take away bowl games because I'm sure that the Rose Bowl would be up there on that list. Is there an away stadium that you've played at that you've really enjoyed being at, or that you could designate as a favorite?
Um, yeah, I mean, so the first time we played at the Rose Bowl, we played at UCLA, and that was super. Like I was just excited to be in the Rose Bowl. I didn't know whether we'd be in the actual Rose Bowl game. That moment sticks out to me, Also, playing at Oregon was a really cool environment. Um, and at Wazoo, obviously, and at BYU was a fun one. At Utah, there's been a lot of really cool experience. We get the opportunity to go to some cool environments and yeah.
You mentioned BYU. Did you get into any of the did you buy in any of the social media hype when that was happening, when they wanted an opponent, uh and that whole, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Did you buy into any of that? You're like, hey, we're just gonna play whoever we can get the chance to play during that season.
I think we were all hoping we would play BYU just because they were highly ranked. Yeah, they had a lot of hype, and we didn't have anyone to play. So I think we just wanted the best opponent possible, and that seemed like something likely that could happen. That didn't end up working out. We ended up playing Utah, and that was great.
It's interesting to hear, the player side of it, because I remember all that going down. Obviously Twitter blew up, and there was a thing with Mr. Wilson and his headband, and I was like, whoa, I hope this game happens, but obviously different circumstances, but it's cool to hear the player side of that and how that all shakes down. um I know you mentioned, when I asked about staying for this year, you talked about improving parts of your game. Is there anything in particular that you're aiming to work on, or you just kind of get better as a whole?
I think it's better as a whole. I think a big emphasis for me is just wanting to get better blocking at the point of attack. Tried to put on some good weight in this off season, and just want to dominate there, and just work on my fundamentals in the pass game, route running, catching the ball, and yeah. So I mean, I pretty much explained all of being a tight end, but yeah.
Tight end breakdown with Cade Otton here. Anyone
Yeah.
who's a tight end, start taking notes, please. Um, so with the number of players, invited to the combine that have gone through the draft throughout the years, and as well as, being pro dogs, I mean, I'm sure we could look at the list. What can you personally say about, the way that the university and the program develops these guys to go through the draft and, in the NFL as a whole? What can you say about, how the program really works with you guys to get you, pro ready?
Yeah, I mean, we have a bunch of coaches with NFL experience, just like being around the league and knowing what they look for, um, and I think like the NFL being the highest level of football, like that's what we're going for. We want the coaches want to um, get us to be the best players we can be to play at the highest level, and I mean they have a proven track record of doing that. I have a lot of friends and teammates that are doing really well in the NFL right now, and that's so cool. And I think that's a big testament to the program, to our strength staff, to our coaches, to all facets of it. Just developing work ethic and fundamentals to play in the NFL.
Now, if I asked you if you had a recruiting pitch for somebody that was considering UW, obviously I know your brother's looking at things, and I'm sure you might kind of leave that just like, hey, this is your decision. But if you're looking at some of the guys, I know that there have been some pretty big names, just in the state of Washington, working hard and having great careers in high school, and then for the next level, considering UW. Obviously, Sam here just finished up his season. Um, JT, I don't want to botch his last name, but JT out of Eastside Catholic still has to decide, and a bunch of guys have. There are some guys who are coming here to UW. Do you have any sort of recruiting pitch if I had to put you on the spot?
I mean, I always tell them about the game days, and all the work that leads up to the game day is incredible. I mean, I've loved every second of being here. But man, you live for the game days. Just walking by the water, going through the band, and your family is high fiving you as you go through the dog walk, and then you run out of the tunnel through the purple smoke, and 70,000 people are cheering you on. There's nothing like it. And then outside of that, just being able to build connections with the top business people in the Seattle area that want to help out UW football players. It's a combination I don't think you can find anywhere else.
And then, so what are you most excited for, this upcoming season? Would it be having people back in the stands, or would it be, hopefully looking at that full season? What would you say that you're most excited for leading into this upcoming year?
Yeah, I think you named just the two biggest things is getting fans back and I mean having the ability to go win everything, conference championship, national championship. Those are our goals, and just want the opportunity to go try and get those things, And so yeah, just super excited for that.
Is there any sort of chip on your guys' shoulder after what happened last year, just the way it all shook out, or are you looking to go into that season with some sort of chip, or is it just, hey, we still got stuff to prove, and we're just going to attack it that way?
Yeah, I think we feel like last year we were just scratching the surface, and I think that's why we're so excited for spring ball. Like we just want to play some more ball. We want to get reps and just show what we can do and evaluate ourselves and get to work. It's us versus us from now until the season starts, and then we worry about our opponents. But yeah, we just are motivated to be the best version of ourselves, and we think we have a really, really high ceiling for that.
Now I want to go into I'm sort of changing, and I've been doing this the past few ones, but it's a lightning round I have. Do you have a secret talent?
Ooh, nothing crazy. Gosh. I'm missing a tooth. It's not a talent, but
I mean, if you want to accept that counts. Do you have a go-to game day meal?
Usually rice and chicken.
Do you have a favorite pair of cleats to play in?
Nothing specific, but I think I can't remember what they're called, but the Adidas like mid-top beast, I think they're called. Not sure though.
So the Adidas partnership kind of fits in well with you then, huh?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Do you have a go-to food spot near the university?
Ooh. I love Paseo. It's not too far from where I live now, so love that place. Great sandwiches.
Would you say that your favorite sport outside of football was basketball, or would you pick another one?
I love basketball and I love soccer. I only played my freshman year in high school, but I loved it.
That's both UW teams, both the women's and the men's team. I know the men's team, I think they lost yesterday, but they beat two top 3 ranked teams in the last few weeks. So even the women's team, they beat Wazoo and they were ranked pretty high. So both of those teams are doing pretty well. And it's interesting to see that the football soccer connection there. And then this one's kind of tough. Do you have a favorite Seattle athlete, or if not just one, I'll let you pick a couple.
Yeah. I'd Cam Chancellor for sure. I loved growing up watching the Legion of Boom, but Cam Chancellor was always my favorite.
Definitely, I think that's a pretty good choice. I'd say that's a pretty good choice. I want to thank you again for coming on. Really cool opportunity. Obviously, interesting way that I was able to reach out to you. But really excited for next year. Obviously, everything the way that it shook out. I mean, you guys put on a great show. Obviously, in the way that the season went. But I'm excited to, see what happens next year. Obviously, it sucks to not have that home Michigan game. I would have been really excited to be at that. It's interesting that thing just kind of gets wiped away, I guess. I don't know if there's plans to have a home one ever again. I think it was just the home and a home series that just got wiped out. But really appreciate having you on. Do you have anything that you want to, leave me with, or anything to promote?
No, I just thank you for your passion for Husky football. It's super cool, man. And yeah, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. And oh, okay. I have an intro, right? But it was you remember Taylor Rapp?
Yeah.
I had him do a little thing from Cameo. Can you just say your name, and then obviously you're the tight end, but you're listening to the Circling Seattle Sports podcast?
What was it? One more time. Sorry.
Oh, it was just like a sort of introduction to the pod. It's just like, I'm Cade Otton, tight end for the Washington Huskies, and you're listening to the Circling Seattle Sports podcast.
Okay. Circling Seattle Sports Podcast.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Hey, I'm Cade Otton, tight end at University of Washington, and Sorry, let me try that again.
You're good. You're good.
Tongue-tied. Circling Seattle Sports Podcast. Okay, I got it. Hey, I'm Cade Otton, tight end at the University of Washington, and you're listening to the Circling Seattle Sports Podcast.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I'm sure. See, because I start the weekly episodes with Taylor Rapp, so I'm sure people might get tired of listening to him. So now they're going to have Cade Otton to listen to. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I think everybody here listening to this can really sort of agree that we're really excited to see what you do next year and what the team does next year. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, man. You too.